All right, folks, let's have some pre-cals. Gents, what's going on today?
Hey, we've got the largest crowd ever on the podcast here.
Largest.
The largest. We have 3 of the Sleep Navigators who are going to join us from the Wellstar program. We've had Massey Arrington before on the podcast who talked about the program in general.
Wait a second.
We're getting to the heart of the matter.
You said 3?
3. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So they're going to take us on one-on-one, is it?
They would win, I'm sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wow. Okay, so Sleep Navigators. And so Massey was on our show a while back. So how is this going to be different now?
Well, we get to see the frontline perspective. And, it's interesting because Kelly Gladden, who's one of the ladies that's going to join us today, has actually written a book about building a Sleep Navigator program. And I've heard great things. Emerson, you had some experience with them at a sleep conference. You want to talk about that?
I did. They presented at Southern Sleep, Marietta Bibb's meeting that she hosts in Houston, did an extraordinary job during the tech meeting. Just their passion that they bring to this. And I think for me personally, this is so much fun to watch because, when I first started talking about this concept was all the way back in 2010, and no one was talking about it. And just to see how this has evolved over the last, 23 years. I mean, not 23, 13 years of development. And what Andrea accomplished and Christina accomplished and others have just built on that foundation is just so rewarding. And to see somebody, the passion that they brought at that conference, I'm sure we'll see some of it today. But for me personally, it's so rewarding to see that continue on and continue to grow and get better and better from when it was just a concept, literally 13 years ago. So yeah, fun stuff getting to see this today.
That's awesome. I look forward to it. I'm sure we all look forward to it. So with that being said, let's move on to the show.
Let's have.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another episode of Sleep Tech Talk, the sleep podcast with your hosts and friends, Emerson, Kerr, Robert Miller, and me, Dr. Gerald George, Mannikarote. Hope everybody's been having a great day because it's going to get even greater. We've got this time is not just one, but we've got multiple guests today, and it's so awesome. Triple the fun, triple the experience, and triple everything. But with that, I'm going to ask you all, don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you're on YouTube, and if you're on any of the podcast platforms, please do not forget to give the ratings and also some comments. It really helps get the show out to everybody out there. Extremely important. Please do not forget to share this with your friends. It's because of you that we've been growing, and we thank you so much for that. And that way we can continue to give you this great content. With that out of the way, I want to say thank you all once again. And Robert, what's going on today?
We've got our first tech meeting here on Sleep Tech Talk. I haven't been a part of a tech meeting in like 15 years, so this is great for me. No, we've had previously on one of our other episodes, we had Massey Arrington on who talked about the Sleep Navigator program at Wellstar. Well, guess what? We have the Sleep Navigator team from Wellstar today. That's right. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and give us a quick, sort of intro and sleep, how they got into sleep and how they became sleep navigators. So we'll kind of move through that quickly so we can get to the real content of the show today, which is the sleep navigator role, what they do for patients, and how they, maybe even some stories about how they've been able to make a real difference in a patient's life, which I think they'll have some great stories. I've heard they collectively have done a fantastic job speaking at conferences before. So we're glad to have you ladies with us today. And please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your background and history with sleep.
Well, my name is Kelly Gladden, and I have been in respiratory and sleep for over 20 years. And how did I get into sleep navigation? So I've done nights, days, but I've always had interest in the CCSH credential. And I just have to shout this out now because my two pioneers are Angie Ramberg and Christina Weaver. If it wasn't for the articles in Sleep Review magazine, I wouldn't have got as excited as I was to see the potential what we can do. But just briefly, Wellstar had a position for sleep navigation. I have to thank Massey Arrington, our AVP, and Dr. Hitendra Patel, our medical director, because if it wasn't for their vision and seeing the benefit of having a sleep navigator that they were trying to do for a few years, I would not be in this role. I would not even be speaking with you. So I was hired in November 2019. I was given a year to get this program up and running. And thankfully, I was able to go live during COVID, June 2020. And we had great success. We started a smaller hospital and we'll go to a larger one. The larger one's last. And we show we can cut readmissions and improve patient outcomes. And then Keir Noe, she became our second navigator and she went live and took my place August 2021. And I went live at the second hospital. So I'm gonna kick this to Keir so she can introduce herself.
Greetings. I'm Keir. I am our second sleep navigator out of 4. I've been in sleep for, I think this is my 34th year I've been in sleep. And that's what I've done exclusively since I was 12 years old, apparently, because I'm not that old.
All right,
But
what's your registry number? We gotta know.
it's not that low actually, because I took the
Okay.
registry. I took the registry late. I think it's like, I have no idea what the number is. Honestly, I don't want to give the wrong number, but it's not as low as it should be. But
Okay.
I have been doing some sort of sleep for the greater majority of my adult life, and it's my passion, it's my love, it's my driving force to keep me to keep people motivated to be healthy at any age. I think I'm the oldest navigator. Yeah, I'm the oldest navigator. And I'm very big on health and trying to be as healthy as possible. And by being a sleep navigator and screening inpatients, we help people improve their health. And that's what I love most about the job. I have 2 dogs that were making noises a minute ago, but I'm a native Georgian, and I've been in Atlanta for the great majority of my. That's not true. I've been in Atlanta for the most part, most of my life, but I've traveled all over. I traveled for 4 years as a sleep tech, and I met wonderful people that are still my friends and professional colleagues. And I love this job because it allows us to help people be healthy, and also it allows us the autonomy to create new programs and community outreach and things like that. I hope we'll have a chance to speak about that, but I'm going to be quiet now and throw it to Donnie, our third navigator.
Well, actually, I am the first, but no, I'm just kidding. Kelly, we call Kelly the OG. She's the original goddess. Well, my name is Mrs. Donnie Brown Hill. I've been in sleep for about over 20 years. I've been in medicine for over 30. Sleep came about by accident. My husband's former respiratory department wanted a sleep tech, and she was hiring, and I got in. Boom, here I am. As far as the navigation, I took a 4-year hiatus. Emerson probably doesn't remember, but he used to be in Alabama, Birmingham, and I worked for David Moore. And I worked there, and when I left there, I took 4 years off to be a professional speaker and also a CEU. I own a business that I do CEUs for social workers, nursing, and techs. And when I came back to Wellstar, or to Georgia, I got a position as a night tech. I've done night and days, just like Kelly. And then the Navigator program came up, and here I am. So that's it about me. You know, that's it. Let's talk about the program.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to have to use that OG. What did you say?
She is the original goddess. Yes, the original.
I love that.
So, ladies, yeah, tell us about the program. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this.
So every patient that gets admitted to Wellstar gets screened using the stop bang every 12 hours of admission, and then it will keep popping up in the nursing work list every 12 hours until the nurse does it. You know, it takes less than 1 minute. And then every patient that scores a 5 or higher will come to our work list. The nurse does not have to contact us. At some point it will be 4 or higher, but we had to do 5 because we weren't sure about staffing. And after doing this now for almost 3 years now, it will literally double our numbers. So for example, at Donnie's hospital and Keir's, they most likely would need at least 2 navigators. So that's how it came about. And then we reviewed charts, and then we go talk to the patient about sleep apnea. And it's amazing. We're finding some people that have been on CPAP for 20 years, but they've never followed up in 20 years, and it's still the same machine from 20 years. So we're helping a variety of different people.
Hey, Kelly, a couple of questions for the nursing staff that actually perform the stop bang survey. Is it mandatory in your EMR system, or is it something that's voluntary and some patients get skipped?
It's mandatory, but the nurse can defer it where it doesn't get answered. So in my hospital, we're trying to educate the nurses. Yes, in some cases, I see why you do that. Like if they came in for a stroke, or they're automatically put on an event, but they shouldn't defer it where we'll never kick back. They should just keep putting it off, because at some point the patient will be most likely fine where we can speak to them. But so it is mandatory.
And then the second part of, and it's really a statement as much of a question, but you just told us that the criteria you're using for stop bang is 5 or more, where in general, in our general educational sessions, we would typically say 3 or more would be a patient who should be evaluated for sleep apnea. So you don't have enough staff, even with the powerhouse sleep navigators that you are, to be able to do the education that would be needed for patients who would be 3 or more on a stop bang. Is that right?
I don't even know what it would be for 3, but 4 would. So like, for example, Donnie's at the busiest hospital. So, and Donnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but she could see anywhere from 40 to 50 patients a week. And that's with a 5 or higher. So if you go 4, that's going to go to 80 to 100. And that's going to be very difficult for one person to do.
I just want our audience to hear the prevalence of sleep apnea that is undiagnosed and is in the 4 walls of a hospital system near you.
Yes.
Could you say that again, Kelly? Those numbers, please? I think it's important we hear it once again.
So at Donnie's hospital, she's the busiest hospital so far, because those nurses rock it over there. Not that they all don't, but they're just a different population. But so Donnie may see 40 to 50 patients a week for patients that score 5 or higher. And if she was to go to 4 or higher, it would literally double her numbers to 80 to 100. And that's not possible, because this isn't the only thing we do. We also go and educate, and we round on practices to teach them the importance of our sleep health, to work on referrals, which Donnie would never have time. She doesn't even have really time to do that now, but I want to speak for her. So time in, Donnie.
Well, I think that last statement you made, Kelly, is so important, because I think oftentimes when people build these programs, they sort of have this mindset, if I build it, they will come. Yeah. But it ends up being a lot of work, a lot of education and re-education, and reminding. How much time, even inside the hospital, do you guys spend just keeping your hands on? Because when we talk, with people like Andrea, she had to spend a lot of time really working with the people in the hospital, reminding them of the importance of the program. It wasn't a one and done type thing. How much of that time do you spend re-educating the team inside the hospital?
I'll answer that one, Kelly. At my hospital, which is the busiest hospital, and I have the buy-in from everyone at the hospital. I still do monthly. We have what they call boot camps, and they're for RNs and they're for care partners. So every month, the largest number we've ever had is 47, and it's from 7:30 to 12:30. And we're educating them when they first come in, and then it's mandatory for them to go through the boot camp annually. So that's one way. I know another way that we're doing it as a group is we will have put up tables in the hospital to remind them how important their sleep is, and then educate them about their patient's sleep at the same time. So there's a lot that we're doing, but like I said, I've been really blessed at the hospital that I'm at, that everyone they have the buy-in. And when I come down the halls, they'll stop me. I'll have even hospitalists stop me and say, hey, have you seen 24? Have you been here? Have you been there? And another thing that Kelly didn't tell you guys, we've been fortunate enough, because of the work that she has put in, we can actually pin orders, and the hospitals will sign them for us, for our patients to go to pulmonary referral or even get a sleep study. So Kelly has really worked her butt off to get this to this point. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on what Donnie's saying as well, the education is nonstop. It's continuous. I have on my desk, pinned above my desk, the huddle schedule for every floor when they huddle, what time they huddle, and I'll make sure that I try to hit a couple of them per week and just show up or reach out to the lead or charge nurse for that floor or for that shift and say, hey, I just want to remind everybody about the stop bang and give them a little, I have disposable tape measures that are paper, just as a reminder, because one of the things we use is the neck size, of course. So if it's 16 inches or larger, they're more likely to have apnea. We know that. But sometimes it's difficult to have the tape measure. If you're not a sleep tech, you don't have them lying around. So I got disposable ones, and I pass those out at the huddles just to remind the nurses that it's possible to measure the neck and get an accurate stop bang done. But the education's ongoing.
A
Yeah,
question
that's
for
so
you.
beautiful
Is
that-
there any type of permit or anything that designates the patient as a potential sleep apnea risk that any other care team member that comes in contact with that patient would know that they need to treat them a little bit differently, like if they were going to surgery?
Uh-oh.
We've mentioned that to Massey,
I'm
and
sorry, could you guys tell me what he said? Because I didn't, he broke up on my end.
Yeah, Robert, it was kind of choppy, what you said.
Yeah, so let me ask it again. The question was, is there any type of armband or any type of designation for the patient that allows the other care team members to know that that patient may be at risk for sleep apnea?
so
Kelly?
Massey, we've mentioned it to Massey and Dr. Patel, and it's something hopefully we'll be able to do in the future. But no, we do not have anything yet, but it's on our list of things.
Well, the great thing about that we screen all inpatients, the nurses already know. And because we have a presence in the hospital, they are paying attention to that, and they will rescore the stop bang, because you can have one nurse that, as I say, everyone doesn't work in excellence, and one may not work in excellence, and one will come in and notice, oh, he's snoring. I've noticed, he's having apneas, and she will rescore it. So we've educated the staff enough that they know who their patients are. They know if they have sleep apnea, and they know that we're available to help them. So if they see something like, you'll see patients come in with a mask that has duct tape on it, and it's brown when it's supposed to be gray, and the nurse will stop you in the hall and say, hey, we need to get this patient taken care of. So sorry. Well, what I was saying is, because of the commitment that we have with in our hospitals and the relationships that we have with them, they've been doing the stop bang anyway. So they will know, okay, this is what's going on. So with our patients, if there's something going on as far as like needing a mask, and they see you in the hallway, they'll stop us. So the armbands, I was saying, the armbands would work. They would come in handy, but because the relationships that we have with the staff, the armbands are not even necessary, because they know who I am when I walk down the hall. Because you see the ladies, they have the blue on. We're the ladies in blue. I have one guy that sings that to me every time he sees me. The lady in blue. So, just the relationships. We got it covered right now, because that's one of the things from the get-go. It was about getting a buy-in and having relationships. Because one of the things at Paulding, what I did was, when it was fresh, I would walk the halls when I didn't have patients. So they thought I was introducing myself, speaking to them, and I would walk every floor, speaking to everybody, didn't see any patients so they could see me. Because as you know, people will do what they know you're checking. So they were like, oh, she's here. Oh, okay. Did I do the stop bang? Who did the stop bang? So just building those relationships.
That's
And
awesome.
So it's
So one of the things I was thinking about too is that, these programs, Robert and I have been fighting to get these things around the country for years, but every one of them has sort of a tipping point, where things just sort of exploded and it really took off. Kelly, when you look back at all of this, clearly, what Massey and Byron and everyone that's been involved in the program did laid an extraordinary framework and groundwork. But where did you feel like was that tipping point where it just started really creating some inertia that really began to carry it forward? What was that special series of events?
Probably once IT approved this, the whole process of trying to get this up and running, or things in my mind I always think are simple, but when I'm dealing with IT, it's much more complicated. So once I jumped through all the hurdles and the hoops, things start to get better. And then when I went live, I'm not going to lie, I went live during COVID, so that was a whole nother podcast.
That's special about itself.
Kelly,
But
what you
once
Kelly, what you said first, before you said that, you said because you kept going. That was the
Mhm.
tipping point.
That's
That
it.
was the difference between anybody else that stepped in. You kept going, and
Yep.
you would take no for an answer. But I will allow her to answer that. But I just wanted to put my little 2 cents on that. Okay.
Well, the reason I asked that too is that if you look at some programs that Robert and I have been watching for a long time, is they didn't make it past a certain person. They weren't able to basically multiply it, and there were headwinds, and we're not saying they didn't succeed, but there were definitely headwinds. Other than the IT, because you're right, embedding that in the system was mission critical. What else do you feel like made the difference that really propelled things forward? Beyond not quitting, beyond the IT, what other magic moment do you feel like happened to make it succeed?
And if you could just answer this along with that is, did you have any pushback from
Woo.
nurses and
course.
such while you were trying to push this forward? Because I'm
Of
sure that's what our
course.
audience wants to hear.
So if you're at a multi-hospital system, just because you go live at one and it was successful doesn't mean the second one is going to want you there. So just keep that in mind, because you have different financial leaders, different nursing managements, just different personalities. But I guess what pushed me through is Donnie's right. I don't like to give up. It's my passion. I always want to do this. And Massey gave me the opportunity. And I think relationships, as Donnie mentioned previously, and Keir, if you don't build those relationships with those nursing leaders,
Mhm.
or it's really nursing leaders, or
It
the
is.
heart failure, we work with the heart failure educator, stroke educator, and if there's a COPD educator. And to me, that's awesome, because if the nurses, maybe something's not done correctly, as Donnie said, those educators will reach out, because in the end, it's our
Mhm.
responsibility to work as a team to cut readmissions. And if we're not working together, then why are we doing this? That's the
Right.
whole goal. But I guess relationships, if I can't form the relationship, then I'm going to find another relationship. So if I get blocked, I'm going another way. If I get blocked, I'm going another way. I don't give up. You have to keep going. Just find another route.
And
Well,
I just want to add.
I am glad you mentioned readmissions, because I do have a question for you, lady. And that is monitoring CPAP for patients post-discharge. Is there any of that takes place today, in addition to your other responsibilities, where you are tracking some patients post-discharge to make sure they're adherent to therapy and that it's effective, and trying to navigate that patient back into an office visit versus a potential readmission?
So I'll just answer part of that. So we don't do the actual tracking of their usage and things like that. And I hope we don't have to, because that'd be a lot, because we follow so many patients and we have so many spreadsheets. But when you talked about what helped propel the program forward, not only Kelly's passion and perseverance, but it's all about the bottom line. When you show that you can have a system that is saving money by keeping patients out of the hospital, they're going to be more likely to look at that. If you show them you can keep their numbers lower for the readmitting for stroke, COPD, MI, and CHF, those things are going to make the people in the financial offices, their eyes are going to light up. You're like, what? You're saving us money? And when you talk about readmissions within 30 days and no one gets paid, no one wants that. So we're looking at not only helping people be healthy, we're also increasing the bottom line. We have a new report we're working on, and then I'll be quiet. We looked at February 22 to February 23, and we saw about 6,200 patients, and 21% of those actually made it to their office visits, which is impressive. And then 5.7%, I think was the number, made it in for actual sleep studies after that and followed up. So that's pretty impressive. Not only are we saving the money, we're also bringing revenue in with all the revenue from referrals and from sleep studies. So it's not only a lifesaver, it's a moneymaker for your program as well. And people always want that.
Ladies, I really want to keep the conversation going, but we are out of time.
Is it over already?
Yeah, I know. Actually, we're a little over, and it's been so awesome. Is there anything that you ladies want to add just before we close? Yes, there we go. Kelly, if you could talk to that, please.
Yeah.
What Robert, and those of you who are not on the podcast or not watching on YouTube, you may want to switch over to YouTube just to see what Robert is holding in his hand. But Kelly, if you could talk to it, please.
So I wrote a book. It's a diary to build and grow a hospital navigation program. And I have to thank the two wonderful ladies on this podcast because they have lots of experience and both pushed me to do this. I really have to say Donnie.
Mostly Donnie.
Just briefly, Keir and I already knew each other from a previous job. We did not know Donnie. So when Donnie started, we all went to lunch just to, I wanted to know Keir and Donnie's perspective on what they see to improve, because we have two new eyes and two new brains that can improve this. One thing, Donnie, and that would be in the whole, you really should invite Donnie back in here because they have other separate lives that are really good in sleep. But Donnie has written books. And she said to me, you really need to write a book about this because none of us were aware of a book, and it would help other technologists that would have an interest in doing this to have an idea how to do it. And I just blew them off because I'm kind of lazy now in my old age. And I said, sure, all three of us can do it to motivate me. And then Donnie would casually mention it to me. And then she eventually said, Kelly, how are Keir and I going to write this book? We don't even know what you did. You need to write this book. So long story short, a year and a half later, I finally wrote it in January. And thank you to Donnie because I don't have an editor. And as you can see, I like to talk. I'm very descriptive. And Donnie's more bullet. I don't think that way. So she gave me feedback on every revision. The book that is on clinicalhealtheducator.com, which is my website. It will link the book to bookpatch.com. If it wasn't for her feedback, the book would not look as good as it is. And I probably should do a 6th revision. But
we are.
but I'm excited to write the book, and it's because of Donnie that this book is written. And for all the technologists. So if you're interested, buy my book.
Well, I want to
where
add
can
this.
they get it again, please?
Go ahead, Kelly. Tell them.
So I have a website. It's called clinicalsleepeducator.com. And that's my website. And it will link to bookpatch.com because if you try and find the book on bookpatch.com, it's very difficult to find. So just go to my website. It will link to it. My LinkedIn is there if you want to message me. And then it tells people how to become a CCSH as well to the BRPT.
And by the way, Jerry, she's also a consultant. So if anybody wants to, are you going to do that? She's going to do it. She's also a consultant. So if anyone is interested in having her come out to help, she is available because she wouldn't say it. So I'm going to say it for her.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. We sincerely appreciate you joining us today. And you never know, we might have you back with so much
Please
fun,
do. There's so much more to tell.
Yes, exactly. Because
We didn't even get to the patient stories, like how they changed lives.
exactly.
We have great stories.
And we also need to talk about how a navigator, how it's different than being a technologist, because your way of bedside manner is totally different. And that's something that really needs to be talked about. So thank you guys for having us.
We'd love to do this again.
We love it.
Well, let us know. We're here because we're fabulous like that. We got time.
That's right.
Hey, with fabulous, we say thank you to these fabulous ladies, and
thank you
folks out there listening and watching. You folks are all fabulous as well, and we thank you so much for your views. We thank you so much for your likes, subscriptions, and shares. Please don't forget to share it with your friends, whether it's a podcast platform or on YouTube. And until next time, we say thank you so much. Lights on.
Lights on.
Hold up. Folks, we've got some exciting news for you right now, right here on Sleep Tech Talk. Want to let you know that we are looking for 2023's Person of the Year. That's right, Sleep Tech Talk's 2023 Person of the Year. How are we going to do that? Well, listen up. Any guest that's been on the show so far, and any guest that's going to be on our show for this year, 2023, are all nominees or all candidates for this recognition. And how you can help is by listening and or viewing that specific episode. We're going to be counting the number of plays for each episode. We're going to be counting the number of listens for each episode and taking that into consideration. If you have anybody that you think should be a candidate, let us know. And we will see what we can do to get them on board as a nominee. At the same time, we need your help to make this happen. to select that person of the year. Along the way, we hope to introduce some other awards as well. But in the meanwhile, do everybody a favor, do us a favor, and listen in to your favorite guest. So by early next year, 2024, we'll be announcing the winners. Now back to the show. Okay, that was quite a show. 3 times the fun. You weren't kidding, Robert. This was fantastic. Honestly, I wish it didn't stop.
We could have gone on a lot longer with those ladies. What great energy. My goodness. You couldn't find better people to, promote a Sleep Navigator program and be a part of a Sleep Navigator program. They're passionate about sleep, passionate about patient care. They essentially told us that they won't stop until they're successful, in advocating on behalf of a patient, which I think is fantastic. But the most important point I think that came out of our conversation is the prevalence of undiagnosed patients that are within the 4 walls of a hospital that are undiagnosed and untreated, that they deal with every single day.
Imagine for me, I thought one of the things that stood out in a big way was, you can have all the programs in the world, and Massey probably has the best technological aspect of it, but it's people. The passion that the 3 of them have and what they bring to it is the reason these programs succeed. And for the technologists that don't think they matter, don't think the CCSH matters, those 3 demonstrate that it absolutely matters. And you can be a difference maker in your organization. You can be a difference maker in your own life. And to see them bring that passion to what they do, absolutely evident in all 3 of our guests. It's about people. I mean, the process matters, but at the end of the day, it's the people that make it happen. And they demonstrated that today.
I agree with you 100% there. If you look at the energy that they bring, you could definitely see that passion that they really want to care for these patients. And we all know that when somebody's that passionate, it spreads, it's contagious. And people see that, hey, these folks really want to do something for these patients. Let's listen to what they have to say. And as Keir said towards the end, the other financial component of it, they're able to demonstrate that as well. So you have the people at the top listening in as on top of that, hey, if you take care of these patients' sleep issues, you're also going to be able to reduce the readmissions when it comes to stroke, cardiovascular disease, and whatnot. So it makes a tremendous difference all around. And I just love hearing that sort of passion from these folks.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that the one highlight that I drew out is that when you start one of these programs, you've got to manage it, and you've got to manage the relationships around it. You can't just assume that all because you've established that it's going to run itself. You've really got to educate, re-educate, and stay connected to it. And I love how they dial in on those huddles. They're involved in what's going on. They're literally partners in care to the rest of the health team at their facilities. And that's beautiful.
The reiteration over and over again regarding what to look for the patient. I just cannot explain how much I love that concept. I've never thought of that, but geez, think about it. These folks, you both have been with me in the front lines when it comes to selling, and you've heard it over and over again. Oh, I forgot to ask the patient. I don't know what to ask. And then you have to keep re-educating them what a stop bang is, or what an Epworth is, or whatever. You have to keep re-educating people. But these ladies understand that really well, and they make sure that's part and parcel of what they do on a regular basis to make sure that no stone is left unturned or no patient is left unchecked. And I love that. And you think about it, they've kept the bar this high. If they drop the score just a little bit, they just can't handle that volume of patients to screen. Think about that.
Pretty amazing. Although the one thing I think we all have to work on, if there was anything that's a little bit, the numbers are impressive, but we still have to work on the capture rate of patients after discharge. I actually posted something on LinkedIn recently that was a study that was done on sort of post-discharge management of patients for sleep apnea, and patients in general don't do a very good job of following up on the sleep apnea treatment front. So we've got to figure out how to make it real to the patient. So when they leave the hospital, they understand it's just as important to get their sleep apnea taken care of as it is, whatever their other comorbid, condition was that brought them to the hospital in the first place. But, this is one of my significant passions, and we can talk about it all day. We are going to have to get this group back because I want to hear some of the stories that they have to tell. And I bet there's a funny story or two that's in there.
Oh yeah.
In the mix as well, because they're super hilarious. And serious ladies too at the same time.
Right. I was just thinking though, if we got another 3 people on top, we could do the whole Brady Bunch thing with 9 folks.
We'll do the Brady
You have
Bunch
to
sleep
look up and
apnea
around
screening
and-
song.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, with that, let's close, guys. Anything else you gents want to add?
All good.
Yep,
All right.
good stuff.
Well, thank you all so much. And folks, we sincerely appreciate you. And until next time, we say, see ya.